No, Doubter Nation, after a few weeks away, we are back live with our Sunday night college baseball recap. And this is a special one at this point in the year, folks, because, it seemed like just yesterday we were
Mhm.
kicking off the college baseball season. Boom and I were tuning in intently here because, we didn't know what the future of Major League Baseball for the 2022 season was going to look like at that time.
Yeah.
We were possibly preparing for an extended future where college baseball and the minors was all we were going to get. So we were going in intently, and obviously,
Yes.
we have we have investments here, obviously because of Texas Tech, and it's a great sport as it is. But Major League Baseball has come back. We've continued to follow it over these past few months since. And the regular season has flown by just like it does every single year, and pretty much stands for a few games at this point in the year. We're about to start conference tournaments here, and then by this point next week they'll be all finished up. We'll be about to see the reveal bracket for the field of 64 to the road to Omaha. So, man, it's been a fun season. I've really enjoyed. I certainly have really enjoyed this season of college baseball. It has just been one of the more up and down years of college baseball for sure. Not in terms of like ups like good and then downs bad. More of just like twists and turns of how the
Yeah,
season has
exactly.
turned out here. Like I've got a tab open up here, comparing the top 25 from the preseason top 25 that was released like just days before the season began back in February, compared to this one that was released as of the past week here, and just how taking a look at how ultimately it turned
Yeah.
out. Some similarities for sure, but some definite differences for sure, and some teams that are not
Mhm.
even in the picture at this point in the year. So
Yes.
crazy season. We certainly got a lot to talk about.
We sure do. It's been a good year of college baseball. I've definitely watched a lot more. It's just it continues to be fun. It is not much of a marathon as Major League Baseball. It comes and goes. It's more kind of like a sprint. It's just, but it's kind of like most college sports. You get the non-conference matchups at the beginning, then they start beating up on each other. We got learning a lot about RPI and the fact that some conferences get more love than others. But hey, that's how college football works too. It's the same deal. But yeah, it's just the carousel of teams in the top 25 has been really interesting to see, especially from the mid majors perspective. And I'm sure we'll get into the top 25 as it stands, and we'll talk about the surprises. And there have been teams, including our Red Raiders, who have stayed strong, and they are looking pretty good at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been thinking the past few days since we had our conversation with Kyle Blanks, who
Hmm.
played college baseball himself. He did a
Yeah.
small junior college out in Arizona, albeit that. But just it made me think that, like he was talking about, this is a time of life for these guys. All from these guys all the way, like the top programs of the world, the LSU's, the UCLA's, Vanderbilt's, Tennessee's, Oregon States of the world, to just these teams are just barely scraping by into their conference tournaments, and you're hoping for a miracle to run through and be a bracket buster this year. Everything from those, and then guys playing small college ball and D2 D3 schools, stuff like that. Made me think of just that the reality is yeah, have a sense of big picture and like a sense of grace to these guys to start going out there and just kind of looking through the lens of how hard this game is to play, and that these guys going into college baseball, this is the first time, this is really the period of their life where they're getting very specialized, kind of
Hmm.
pouring into and training and coaching in this here to really separate, hey, who the guys from, hey, who's this just is this just a something you're continuing on for right now, and when the road kind of comes to an end here, this is probably going to be it for you, or do you have true major league potential?
Like
So
that pitcher from Tennessee who threw like 105.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that Tennessee team is loaded. There's a lot of guys
Yeah.
potential there for sure. Tony Vitello and his crew
Yeah.
have certainly recruited well, and are
Yeah.
building a monster there in
Oh, yeah.
Knoxville. But yeah, it's yeah, just a lot of respect for this game. I continue to love it more and more.
Mhm.
I thank you, man. Here, with this first full year of the podcast,
Yeah.
you've let me kind of have this platform here, be able to share it with you
Oh,
for
yeah.
college baseball, doing in the evenings here on Sundays. It's been a
Yeah.
ton of fun. Been
Oh,
a
yeah.
great learning experience here. I'm looking forward to what we can do with this. Do with this in the future. Certainly
Oh,
there's an
yeah.
audience out there that's it's untapped into ultimately at this point. But yeah, I've had a ton of fun with it. I hope
Oh,
you have
yeah.
as well.
I sure have, man. College baseball is definitely out there. It's when Major League Baseball gets hung up every 5 years, college baseball will always be there for you.
Coming into the rescue to
Yes.
to save the billionaires from themselves and the
Exactly.
fans along the way. Well,
Yes.
but we enough talking just randomly. Let's dive into baseball. But before we do that, we're going
Yes.
to dive into a special segment. We made it a little bit more limited as of recent here, kind of slowed it down a bit here and done it more sparingly. But we're bringing it back for this episode here because it is a special episode here as we're winding down, basically calling it having a current call here on the regular season and moving into the postseason here and the conference tournaments and soon the road to Omaha at that point. So that means it's time for pour and score, because when you pour, you score when you're enjoying America's greatest pastime. Boom. How about you start us off with what you're drinking this evening?
All right, going all the way to H-Town, baby. Presenting, because summer is basically here. Of course, there's a cold front here in this Lone Star State. It wasn't. The summer solstice is not here, but it still doesn't mean I cannot. It doesn't mean I can't celebrate summer now. So I'm going to be drinking the St. Arnold's award-winning summer pills because it is basically summer. Look at that. Look how eclectic it is. The patron saint wearing some sunglasses, really enjoying his time with a cooler full of beer. Look at that. I love this brewery. Texas's oldest craft brewery.
And they have by far the best can art of any craft brewer out there. Like, not just here in Texas. I've yet to find another craft brewer in America that has better
Or
cover art than
pills.
St. Arnold's.
Exactly, yes. It has a delicate, sweet malt taste complemented by an abundant hop aroma and flavor. The beer is brewed with a fine German malt and copious quantity of noble hops imported from the Czech Republic. There we go. It is 22 IBUs, 4.9% alcohol by volume. So, without further ado, I'm going to be pouring it in. H-Town beer, H-Town glass. Astros, I know it's not college, but hey, it's baseball. So, all right. Have you had this one, Trav?
I believe so. It's been a minute, but the cover art looks the can art that is looks very very familiar, and I'm pretty. I've had most of like the stuff that's like in the regular rotation for St. Arnold's that you can
Oh
find in the
yeah,
store.
yeah. This is one of their seasonals. So well, no, I think it. Yes, it is one of their seasonals. So they don't have it year round per se, but when it's summer, you can. It's that time of year, so it makes sense. Very translucent, if I don't say so myself. You can basically see right straight through it. Great nose to it. Very reminiscent of a typical pills. I'm going to go ahead and dive right on in. Mm. Mm. Kind of almost tastes like a blonde ale, even though all pilsners are lagers. So it is a lager, so that means it's cold brewed, but it has the refreshing kind of crossover to a blonde ale. But with most pilsners, it's got a little bit of hops and a little bit of bitterness to it, just a tad. It's a good way to kind of work your way into IPAs, is to start off with the lower bitterness pilsners, and if you can handle that, you can then go from there to the IPA territory. But yeah, you get just a tad bit, but the crisp and refreshingness that's the overwhelming driver to this beer right there. Mm. Hmm. Yeah, it just has a really good aftertaste. It's just so crisp, so refreshing. It's a good gateway beer. Just a little bit more specialized than, a typical blonde ale, Bud Light, whatever. But, it's got all the craft, aroma to it. So definitely like it. I do like Pilsners, not as much as IPAs, but I do have a soft spot for Pilsners. So rating, this is tough. It's always tough to do the non-IPAs. I'm going to go ahead and give it an 8 out of 10, which is pretty darn good considering I'm a hop head. But
It sounds like it's got those touch of hops from this description.
yes.
You had.
Oh yeah. So I mean, an 8 for a non-IPA is pretty good. when you think about it. But put yourself in someone else's shoes. I remember when we had the Astros locker on. If you're someone who doesn't like IPAs, but you like those light ones, highly recommend this. It's crisp, it's refreshing. Drink it on a summer day. They couldn't have made it any better. Chilling on the beach. This is it. I mean, you're gonna have a good time. So 8 out of 10. St. Arnold Summer Pills.
I love it. Yeah, no, we have previewed now plenty of St. Arnold's brews on this show, and I think between you and I, none of them have ever been lower than a B at least. Like they're just a rock solid. Like that's the floor for them. And it's a pretty darn good floor. They nothing that comes out of there really is ever subpar. They just do an incredible job for sure. Well, I'm working through, whenever I come on this show, I always bring something brand new that I have not previewed before. We'll do repeats here. And so right now, what I've got that is yet to be previewed is the last of my wine that I'm going through right now.
Nice.
And so this week I'm going with a Robert Mondavi Private Selection Rum Barrel Aged Merlot, California, 2019. So
that's a mouthful.
Enjoying the finer things in life tonight.
Yes, there you go.
So label here on the back says the Merlot blends the craftsmanship of California winemaking with the exotic tradition of dark rum barrel aging. The cool climate of our coastal vineyards imparts the wine with jammy flavors of plum and blueberry.
Man.
Select lots are then aged in rum barrels, delivering complex nuances of toasted coconut, molasses, and rich vanilla when added to the blend. So
there you
got my Texas Tech glass here to appropriately celebrate college baseball this evening.
Rum aged Merlot. I think I've had bourbon aged wine before. Rum aged, very, very interesting.
Yes, I think this is the first, at least that in terms of like my awareness of what I bought before that I've got in terms of being rum aged here. And I think I can tell I'm normally not a big Merlot guy, but this one I probably one of my more favorites here. And take a sip here.
Nice color. I do like Merlots a lot.
And I'll explain why. So yeah, I think Merlots are interesting as like they hit Merlot, kind of like a more traditional Merlot by itself. I feel like it hits sharp and then it goes down kind of like rich and very kind of like musk, like kind of with the there on the back end. I get more of, I can definitely taste a little bit of that vanilla note there. And get a touch of coconut and the molasses as well. I almost feel like, this has the Merlot attitude, but more of like almost more of like a Cab or Pinot Noir drinking experience to it. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like a Merlot that kind of pushes more in that direction for wines. That's just my opinion. If you're listening to this and you feel different here, and I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, feel free to hit up our business email and set me straight. But hit me up on Twitter or wherever I'm at. And tell us otherwise. But that's just kind of my feel to it. Is you get these little tastes of notes. It kind of is that darker, more I can get the rum barrel aging kind of feel to it that you don't normally get with Merlots, I feel like. So interesting. I'm not normally a big Merlot guy. I go more typically in the direction of of Cabs and Pinot Noirs. So I would say, in terms of what I'm going to give this one here, it's going to be a good I'm going to give this one a good 8 out of 10 as well.
There you go, repping the bees for the win. There you go. For a non-Merlot guy, we don't just stay in our wheelhouses. We don't just drink IPAs and Cabs here. We like to branch out because our audience has distinct tastes. We are for our audience there. So if y'all are watching, go ahead, give us a comment, give us a like, share this broadcast, share to us what you're drinking this evening, because we're all kicking back and getting ready for the work week. So there we go.
Once again, that was the Robert Mondavi Private Selection Merlot, California 2019. Rum barrel aged, and bottled, invented and bottled by Robert Mondavi in Acampo, California. 14.5% alcohol by volume.
Going from 4.9 to 14.9. Yes. Big old jump. And as we always like to end off the segment, we want to encourage our audience to please drink responsibly. So
Absolutely. The only way to do it. Cheers, friends.
To a successful college baseball regular season.
Yes, sir.
There we go. All right, Trav, let us unwind. Let's unpack this season.
Absolutely. So let's first talk about what it's been a few weeks since we've met here and talked college baseball. Let's just kind of go over real quick what the top 25 looked like for this past week. This is of the past Monday, May 16th, when the top 25 came out for the week. You had number one Tennessee, went 4-0 on the week. A clean sweep of got a midweek win over Belmont, and then a clean sweep of Mississippi State. Oregon State went 1-2 on the week. Did drop 2 games. Ultimately, the series to UCLA, but came back to win the final game and salvage a win out of it. Virginia Tech went 4-0 on the week, including a sweep over Duke. Stanford went 4-0 on the week. Our own Texas Tech Red Raiders went a decent 1-2 over a red hot Oklahoma Sooners team right now. That is, I mean, I love. We'll talk more about the Sooners, but I really like that team. That's a team that they may squeak in as one of the it's one of like the last hosting spots, or they'll have to go on the road as the 2 seed somewhere. But I really like those Sooners' chances to make it to Omaha. They're looking like very much like a sleeper team this year.
Oh yeah, they've made a really good late surge.
Absolutely. Texas A&M Aggies, they come in at number 6 for the past week. They went 1-2 on the week. They unfortunately dropped the series to the Ole Miss Rebels. But it was still a good one. Actually, I want to make sure I've got that correct. Sorry, folks, you're going to get a little bit of improvising here. I want to make sure I got that right because that was a close series. I can't remember exactly how it tried. Okay, yeah, they did drop the series ultimately to Ole Miss there. Yes. I thought I had typo for it there. 1-2 on the road at Ole Miss. This week, you can't follow Ole Miss. You'll talk about them in a bit, but they absolutely finished out this year red hot when just a matter of a few weeks ago, we thought their season was dead in the water. Arkansas, the Razorbacks, number 7 over the past week. They went 1-2. Unfortunately, have dropped 2 straight SEC series in a row. We're playing at Vanderbilt this past weekend. Oklahoma State, after a sweep by our Red Raiders the previous weekend in Stillwater, went on the road to Waco to close out the season and got the 2-1 series win over the Baylor Bears. Miami split their week 2-2. They dropped a midweek game to I believe it was Florida Gulf Coast. However, came back and got the series win over Notre Dame down in Coral Gables. Louisville went 3-1 on the week. Gonzaga 2-2. Virginia 1-2. Texas State 3-0 secured the Sun Belt Conference regular season championships. What a run that team made. That team's going to be in. Going to be in contention possibly for slipping into a hosting spot. If not, they're a dangerous 2 seed, and I'm not sure if I quite feel confident about them all the way going to Omaha like I would a team like Oklahoma. But to be a team that could end up going to super regionals and be probably the best ever finish for that program, I think that's a very real chance for that Texas State program. Notre Dame, they just kind of continue to sit quietly right there, 2-2. They're clocking in at number 14 in the country.
You're double checking their actual ranking.
Yes, number 3. Yeah, Notre Dame was number 14 in the country.
That is correct. Yes.
Maryland had a 3-0 sweep of the past week. They are the Big Ten regular season champs. They've got a very good national hosting seed chance there. Most likely going to be some good baseball being played up in College Park here in a little over a week. Connecticut went 1-3 on the past week. Unfortunately, lost a series to Georgetown. Southern Miss 3-0 sweep on the past week. They're looking like they have moved back into a good position, possibly for a national seed for hosting for regionals. UC Santa Barbara, they went 3-1 on the past week. They have one more regular season series to go at Cal State Bakersfield. Auburn splits the past week 2-2, including a series loss at Kentucky. Florida State experienced a clean 0-4 sweep on the past week, including the series loss at North Carolina. That really helped out North Carolina to be able to probably lock them into regionals at this point. They've had a really strong end to the season. Vanderbilt went 1-3 on the past week, 21 in the country. Texas Longhorns 4-0 over the past week, including a sweep of the Kansas Jayhawks. There to finish 14-10 on the conference in the regular season. UCLA 2-2 sweep there, including that series win over Oregon State. TCU 3-0 sweep of Santa Clara. They had already finished up their Big 12 play, so they were just finishing out a non-conference series to end the season. And Grand Canyon finished out the past week 3-0 at number 25 in the country. So yeah, let's look at these standings compared to what it was in the preseason here. So yeah, man, the Texas Longhorns about a month and a half ago, we were ready. I feel like we were preparing to engrave those guys like names already in the trophy,
basically
in Omaha there, and but. Baseball has its way as a game, and it was not to be with that. They had their ups and their downs, but I think that's a team. They're probably gonna. Texas is borderline for hosting or having to go on the road as a 2 seed. But if they can get guys like Pete Hansen and Tristan Stevens back, kind of like squared in and zeroed in, someone like Aaron Nixon can shore things up on Sundays. And this is one of these teams, kind of like you see with a couple of other teams in the Big 12, that sometimes pitching and situational hitting can be an adventure for this team. But if they shore those things up, they're going to go on the road somewhere as a regional, someone else's regional. I think they're going to be a dangerous team, and there's a potentially very interesting matchup that the Longhorns will be associated with here. We'll get to that soon. Number 2 team in the preseason was Arkansas. Arkansas was there. They had times during the season where they were playing, both really well offensively, defensively, and pitching. Other times when they were just kind of not putting everything together. They just weren't, I think, as explosive maybe as we had expected this Arkansas team to be with the talent that they have this year. But they were number 2 originally going into the season. Vanderbilt. They number 3 slotted at the beginning of the season. They were once again they've kind of had their ups and their downs. I like the SEC. They've showed out more strength in the last 2 or 3 weeks now, to where I don't think this is as dangerous of an SEC as previous years, from top to bottom, where you think it's just going to be the College World Series presented by the SEC, because all those teams, like most of those teams, going to be there. I don't think that's the case this year, but I think they've shown that conference has shown a lot more strength, and some emergence of some good players there. So not a baseball has its ways, like we said. Tim Corbin continues to still do a really good job for the Commodores there, and they're back into the postseason again this year. But man, Mississippi State, they started their season at number 4 in the country.
Defending champs.
Yeah, defending champs, number 4 in the country. There was big time expectations for this team. They I forget the name of the pitcher that they lost earlier in the season. There, it lost a really good starring pitcher there for that team, and ultimately finished off the year with a losing record. It finished with the SEC. They take the top 12 out of the 14 teams to the SEC tournament in Hoover, and they were one of the bottom 2 teams in the conference. So they outright missed the cutoff to get to Hoover. So the Mississippi State Bulldogs season is over.
Basically.
Yeah, I mean, it is. There's they're not even playing any more baseball anymore at this point now.
So tragic, man.
So tragic. Ole Miss is not ranked, but at this now. but they came on strong at the end of the year. They're finishing off the regular season at 14-16. You know, they're probably in the tournament at this point, no matter how based on the RPI, the strength of schedule that they've played and everything. Really just as strong of an end to the regular season and some of these big time series wins that they've had. Ole Miss has probably locked itself into the tournament there with that 14-16 record in conference play. Yeah, boom. Dude, you've talked about these guys all year. I wonder if you've caught kind of any of Ole Miss here, kind of as the back end of the year, and like what you're seeing out of them.
Yeah, it's just I just don't think that they had the stamina of Tennessee, and it's just you looked at Ole Miss and it was just a slow but steady climb out of the top 25, whereas teams like Tennessee, they were more resilient, and it's just that's just what happens. It just takes a couple of bad outings. You know, I think they have good talent overall. I mean, they were worth their high initial ranking, but again, it's just late bloomers. Their pitching just wasn't as stout as the teams that have weathered the storm, so to speak. But it has been good to see them kind of really dial it in and uh, try to make a comeback at greatness.
Yes, absolutely. Stanford Cardinal, they came in at number
Yes.
6 on the season, and Stanford has never really played bad baseball. I feel like it kind of
No.
to this point. I feel like there were some pitching woes kind of
Yeah.
earlier in the year for him, and then they just kind of like they got like things kind of course corrected themselves there. David Esker and his staff. Doing the great job that he does. But then, you know, just kind of got into the Pac-12 schedule. It's a pretty tough Pac-12 this year. I wouldn't put it on the level of like, you know, an SEC, a Big 12 or an ACC, but still, you know, just a good competitive Pac-12 schedule. West Coast baseball, the great players that are part of that conference and kind of having to go through that there. And you know they're more battle tested now. They've picked up some really good wins to end out the year.
Yep. I mean, they were my pick to win the whole thing, and I'm definitely feeling a lot better
Yeah,
about my
they're
pick.
up to number 4 in the country right now, and
I know. Yeah.
they were projected number 6 to start the year. So
Yeah. You know,
things have ultimately
you
gone
know,
pretty well.
there was a long time where I was just kind of feeling like, oh crap, here we go. But you look at it, I mean, they're pitching. I mean, they've got 1.67, 2.58, and 3.12 ERAs respectively. That's a one heck of a 1-2-3 punch. And then it's just they got high strikeout rates. They got guys in their lineup. They got good batting averages. I don't know. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, the West Coast Kool-Aid, but I mean it's a preseason prediction. I'm sticking with it, so I'm definitely happy about that.
Yeah, I like it. And the next Oklahoma State, they started out number 7 in the year. Oklahoma State now at number 8 in the country. You know,
Yeah.
they've been right there. They've weathered once again the very tough Big 12 schedule. But yeah, you got their ace Justin Campbell, who has been lights out through the year. I mean, it was like watching. I mean, Justin Campbell for them has been like Brandon Birdsell for
Yeah.
Texas Tech this year, just in terms of like two guys, you know, that came in to the beginning of the season and they established themselves as big time talent and like starting pitching in Major League Baseball type talent.
Yeah.
So he's really helped anchor their pitching as their ace. You know, they've got guys like Griffin Dorshing, there, Cade Trinkle, a lot of other good dudes there at the plate. Like they can bat for power there. I still have that Dorsch bomb in my head from from last week where he hit it 513 yards out of the park, like hit it over the left field suites there at O'Brate Stadium in Stillwater.
Yeah.
That's the team that's also had to weather. Yeah, they've had to weather the ups and downs of the Big 12 this year. Just the tough schedule, the gauntlet that they've gone through. I think they've like a top 30 toughest schedule in the entire country, something like that. So Oklahoma State has been tested and tried. This is definitely one of the better, if not Josh Holliday's most talented teams since he's been in Stillwater. So Yeah, it looks like Oklahoma State probably has a chance of slipping into one of those 13 through 16 regional spots. I probably put them at a much greater confidence level compared to a team like Tech or Oklahoma for that. And as and man, it's going to be a rocket time like that, like a full on regionals environment there at that stadium, that beautiful new stadium that they have there. Like it's Stillwater's going to be a zoo for
Oh
for a
yeah,
regional there. So I think I
I
would
bet.
say they've got a good shot of getting out of that regional. And then going on the super regionals, whether they host or not, and still being an Omaha team this year. So I like what the Pokes are bringing to the table. You know, they had a pretty good season. LSU, the Tigers, they came into the year at number 8 in the country, and
Wow.
they are not even actually. Yeah, they're not even ranked at this point right now.
Yeah.
I forget that they slipped out over the past week, but yeah, just that the Tigers had a lot of power. A lot of power, a lot of power at the plate. But you know, pitching was certainly an adventure for this team this year. You
Yes.
know, Blake Money was on point.
Money.
Blake Money was literal money at one point, but then he became like Blake inflation because his pitching became worthless.
Yes. Exactly.
And so yeah, you're hope that Blake Money becomes more Blake Money again, heading in there.
Yes.
You know, they can keep those bats hot, and you know, maybe see some pitching kind of emerge and the bullpen be able to step up for this program as they head into regionals. So I think they're you know, they lost that you know, they weren't ranked this past week. You know, they went into Vanderbilt, that hostile environment there. They got that series win. So that's really good for them. Probably can move back into the top 25 heading into this week. That win has probably helped them be able to slip into one of the last few hosting spots for regionals as well. Yeah, it'll be a fun, raucous time in Baton Rouge, no matter what teams that they're hosting there. So
Yeah.
I'd give LSU a good chance to be able to get out of their regional.
Yeah, despite being not being in the top 25, they are the 4th seed in the conference tournament, and it's just they just had a really good conference record overall. Not as many wins as a team like Tennessee or the other, you know, upper echelons SEC teams, but I just think that offensive firepower, it was been there with them the whole time, and that's what's been carrying them this time. It's not necessarily the pitching; it's just their offense is so stacked.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's they can uh, they can swing those bats, they can make contact, and they can truly swing for the fences there. And they do it quite well
Yeah.
down Baton Rouge. The number 9 team coming into the year was the Florida Gators.
Mhm.
You know, the Gators remain unranked at this point now in the season, but they've you know, they've had good into the season. They played themselves into regional, certainly not dominant by any stretch here. But the SEC East was a gauntlet this year. I mean, yeah, you had Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Georgia,
Yeah.
um, yeah, who else? South Carolina in there. Just you still had tough teams you had to go through there, and then the teams
Oh,
that they
no.
play in the West as well too. So it just you just didn't see the pitching emerge that you needed to out of that program for them to really be a contender in their division, and then be a consistent team that could be ranked week after week. But you know, Florida is probably one of those more teams that's going to be a more dangerous 2 or 3 seed going on the road this year that you're not going to want to see in your regional. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment not being ranked for those guys, but still a good season. NC State, man, this team was hot and cold,
Man.
like at times of the year. You know, it looked like we were, you know, we were on Tommy watch, thinking, hey, you know, is he going to break Torkelson's record here? Is he just going to keep? Is he going to like? Is he going
Tommy
to?
White.
Is he going to live out the no doubter way and truly bat 400 and swing for the fences on everything?
Yeah.
You know, his game cooled off. The rest of the team, you know, had their ups and their downs this year. They did unfortunately lose a series to Wake Forest this past weekend, which pushed Wake Forest most likely into the field in terms of that bubble area. And then unfortunately bumped NC State a little bit further down into the bubble. NC State is sitting at 14-16 on the year. So I don't
Man.
know if you have the ACC bracket pulled up there and who they'll be playing to beginning. They've got that interesting pooling system that they do. for it that we'll talk more about. It, but I think you'd want to see NC State maybe get just 1 or 2 more wins in Charlotte for that tournament to solidify things there. But if they lose a game, it may truly put them score on the bubble, but I think they're still on the right side of things there. I think NC State they are a team that's going to have a little bit more of kind of that benefit of the doubt in that regard, and NC State has played good teams this year. So just it happens.
Yep, it does.
You just don't live up to expectations sometimes.
Yeah, they were a Cinderella team last year, and everyone was rooting for them this year. Last year truly was the best chance they had to win, because this year it's just, at least so far, it's it's not looking too good. They have fallen from grace, but you never know when it comes to these regionals and super regionals. I mean, the round of 64. If you're in it, you still technically have a chance.
Absolutely, that's the beauty of it. Florida State came into the year number 11. Florida State finishes off the season here as of the past week at number 20. They talked about earlier, unfortunately did get swept on the past week. If Florida State played in a tough ACC this year, they're you saw great performances in their pitching out of guys like Parker Messick, but it was, as we had talked about the previous times this year, this was a very different year compared to what Florida State has traditionally been. This was a great pitching Florida State team this year, but one just like the offense has not been potent whatsoever. They just don't. The bats have gone cold a lot of times this year down in Tallahassee. So it is. I think it's a great thing. Like, college baseball truly is built on strong pitching, so that can take you really far. But way Florida State has looked as of recent, they've fallen out of hosting position probably at this point now, barring some success in the ACC tournament. So, and if they're going on the road, I just don't have a ton of faith in this group. I think there's better teams across the country that they're likely to square up with, and great for getting back to regionals again this year, but just not quite the horses that you're going to need to be able to make a deep run in the tournament.
Yeah.
East Carolina, man, East Carolina came in number 12 in the year. They just absolutely had a disastrous start for like the first month or so. In recent weeks, they've truly turned it up. Probably played themselves into the field at this point. East Carolina is a team that's going to go on the road. Somebody's regional, and you're not going to want to see them based on the way they're playing.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we both picked them to go to Omaha, and maybe this is going to be our mulligan pick. East Carolina going to Omaha. I mean, it's just everybody else. We just, I don't know, that Carolina Kool-Aid. We were just drinking it too hard, maybe. But hey, it ain't over till it's over.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 13 in the country, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and the Fighting Irish right now are number 14 in the country, so they're right there. The Irish are just like, they've quietly been there. I don't know what to think of them. I've not followed this team a ton this year. Notre Dame is, I think, just you good on them for battling through what they have to deal with. Just there, you're dealing with obviously high standards of high academic standards there in terms of what you can get for recruiting players. And then just the challenges of being in a very northern environment like that in South Bend, Indiana, where it's definitely an adventure over the first couple months of the season playing baseball up there. But Link Jarrett's squad has been there just all year. I wish I had more in-depth analysis and kind of what I've seen out of them. I'm sorry, any Notre Dame fans that are listening, they'll listen to our show or pick up on this podcast. I don't have a lot to talk about with your team here. I will pay attention to them as much as I can here in the ACC tournament and going into regionals. Try and provide you more updates. So as long as they're still playing in the postseason, I just don't have a lot that I can talk about right now.
better late than never.
Better late than never. And then our Texas Tech Red Raiders. Yes, they
Yes.
started the year at number 14 in the country, and as of the past week, they were up to number 5 in the country. And
Yes.
what the D1 guys, I think what Kendall Rogers specifically was talking about this team is that, like, yeah, the in previous years, Tech has been like just a lock, seems like always for being like a top 10 or top 5 team
Yes.
going into the season. But this year was just in terms of the sheer amount of talent, like upperclassmen level talent that graduated or moved on to the pros, and and just with the amount of young guys in and kind of some of the holes that had to be filled in the transfer portal, maybe not with the most elite talent. That's like, hey, there were certainly some more questions for our Red Raiders heading into the
Yes.
year than there were answers. And it was kind of a story. There was kind of a story of multiple parts for this team throughout the year. So the first month, month and a half of the season, and we saw a lot of small ball, a lot of really pitching and defense locking things down for this team. Not the best competition. The competition level increases, and you saw really kind of the bats heat up. You had a lot more of a supporting cast around guys like Jace Young and Easton Burrell, and those guys, to where it wasn't just like 2 or 3 guys completely carrying everything like it was more in the year. But then you saw a lot of just really sloppy situational play as well. If they weren't playing like that they looked very one-dimensional. The Saturday, and it was the Sunday pitching that just was not shored up for the longest time. Things looked like they hit rock bottom when they got swept at TCU a little over a month ago. We were starting to look at, especially at that point with RPI and just strength of schedule and everything, like, hey, we got to really start looking at a strong finish to the year here, or this team could be in trouble in terms of even going to the postseason. But those issues were taken care of, especially in the last couple of
Yes.
weeks. I didn't even realize that Chase Hampton was dealing with like an illness that he had earlier in the year, because Chase
Wow.
Hampton was money. Like, I got to see him in person out at DBU when they had a midweek game
Yeah.
against them back in March. He looked great then. Yeah, apparently he was ill for a little bit of time. Just kind of like really like wrecked him physically there mentally a bit, and just kind of took some time for him to get back. But the last two outings that he's had, last Sunday versus Oklahoma State, and then this past Sunday versus Saturday against Oklahoma, Chase Hampton has just had great control. Nice arsenal of pitches that he's using. He has confidence. He has swagger out there. He looks like a guy that's ready to lead Tech into the postseason.
Oh, yeah.
I think you're seeing some bullpen pieces starting to come together and develop more confidence, and to be there to, you still might have to use quite a few pieces in the bullpen, but are like great for sort of situational situations. You can get your lefties and your righties out there, depending on who they're facing. They can take care of that. You can work with those guys, exchange guys in and out. And I like more of the depth that's forming at that point right now. I like our Red Raiders to, whether they squeak in to host or to get have to go on the road as a 2 seed. I like their chances, and I'm beginning to believe more and more in them as an Omaha dark horse now. I've talked about a couple of times now. I've talked about this with Talking Tech guys that I've seen. I kind of capped this team out at super regionals as like their potential. I thought, hey, this is still a really talented team, but just not quite the horses, of a team that we've had in previous years. And then my expectations went up quite a bit with that Oklahoma. Sorry, I heard something like thud or explode. That was really weird.
Oh, wow, man.
Yeah. Editor, you can cut that out. Anyways, yeah. And so I really drank the Kool-Aid after the Oklahoma State sweep. But then kind of was brought down back to earth a little bit here, with Oklahoma, them, and ended up taking the series win in Lubbock. But here's the thing. I think the Oklahoma team is very, very good. I like this team. I just like this team to be able to grind it out. I think this team has It's an advantage in regionals. I like the chances of them having a chance to be able to grind it out in supers and go to Omaha. So that's how I
Yeah,
feel.
yeah. I mean, I picked them to go to Omaha at the beginning, and really, I admit that was more so of a homer pick on my part. But after having watched them, which because I have watched them quite a bit, it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't make it. So yeah, I think you're doing a more pragmatic pick there, Travis. You know, it's just the team, the Tennessees of the world, they're on another level. However, Tim Tadlock, he is the reason why they're in the top five. He's the reason why they have proved all the haters wrong. If anybody can do it, it's under his leadership. And this team can beat any other team on any given day of the week, even the Tennessees of the world. It's because Tim Tadlock knows how to work with what he's got. And
Yeah.
this season proved it. When you had all the people leave, and he has a less stacked deck, so to speak, he's still able to flex. So I don't know. I mean, I just like I said, I just I don't want to get my hopes up, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy it and just hope for the best.
Yeah, I like it. No, I feel like this, man. This season just reinforced that Tim Tadlock, yeah, is very much a top 5 coach in all
No.
of college baseball.
Oh
Top
yeah.
10 or top 5 coach. He
Oh
just
yeah.
runs circles around other coaches. Like he
Seriously.
makes other teams look silly year after year. Like when he's got elite talent, like that elite talent shines. When he has talent that he's having to more kind of like coach up and develop, he brings the best out of those guys. Yeah, there will be a Tim Tadlock statue someday on the Texas Tech
Yes.
campus because that man is a legend in the making. He will retire as the all-time winningest baseball coach for Texas Tech. And Larry Hayes set that
Absolutely.
record. During all those years that he was coaching there, all those original regional appearances that he got the Texas Tech baseball program into. But Tim Tadlock is going to retire a legend for sure in at Texas Tech in college baseball.
Absolutely.
And then moving on, the Arizona Wildcats came in at number 15 in the year. They finish out the season unranked. They're probably going to go on the road as a 3 seed regionals at this point. Never a lot of offensive firepower with this team, but it wasn't always consistent. And the pitching just certainly, I think, just did not come together all the way around for this team this year. Yeah, I kind of fell off of following the Wildcats after they fell out the top 25 a while back. I don't really know. I don't have high expectations for the Wildcats this year. I think that's I don't see them as being a team that goes into someone else's regional and is scary there. I think good year under first year coach Chip Hale to get back to regionals, but I just don't have huge expectations beyond that.
Yeah.
Georgia, the Bulldogs started the year at number 16 in the country. They will probably go to regionals, getting in as like a 2 or 3 seed in some of these regional, but they just finished squarely middle of the road in the SEC this year. I think it's Jonathan Swanson, their ace that they had, was injured at points of the time during the season. Pitching wasn't exactly always great beyond him. There's not a lot of consistency with this team. Yeah, you play a tough SEC schedule, but this team, I think, certainly underachieved compared to maybe what its expectations were going into the year. TCU, Horned Frogs started out the year at number 17 in the country. So the past week, they were number 24 in the country, but they win the regular season. First year head coach Kirk Saarloos at the helm there for those guys. You win your conference, you go 16-8 in conference play. You're doing it just with, you're wanting to see, hey, how does this team ultimately react with a new guy at the helm? Like, a guy who was assistant for many years under Jim Schlossnagle, basically assumed to be the head coach in waiting. He gets the gig, and you wonder, hey, like, is he going to rise to the occasion? Are these guys going to rally around him? Is the talent going to develop? Are they going to show to be competitive? all those boxes are pretty much checked off. It's looking like a slam dunk hire for the TCU Horned Frogs. I mean, yeah, as a Texas Tech fan, I have to say, even so, Kirk Saarloos is probably like Big 12 Coach of the Year material.
Probably.
If not, even being in the running is like National Coach of the Year. I mean, Tony Vitello might get that. I mean, he's probably from Tennessee. He's probably going to get that. But Saarloos has to be. You just have to give him the props for what he's done with Tennessee for his first year and getting those guys back to winning the conference again.
Yeah, number 1 seed, still in the top 25. They've had a really overachieving season.
Absolutely. And then the Oregon State Beavers at number 18 in the country. Beavers now obviously sitting all the way up at number 2 in the country right now. This is a team that, or maybe more modest expectations, but they've just kind of risen to the top in terms of their talent and how they've been playing and everything. Offense is there, pitching is there. Maybe they have some very minor holes kind of here and there that, if you really want to nitpick on them, they're there. But that Oregon State team looks like I would pencil them in as, I believe I penciled them in as one of my my Omaha picks going into the year. I would still do the same with them at this point. Now I really like the Oregon State team. I think they're going to be. I just have the utmost confidence, and I will eat crow if I'm wrong. But I have the utmost confidence. They're about to be a national seed. They're just going to steamroll all the way to Omaha. It's that is that you will not go into Corvallis, Oregon, and have a fun time this summer.
Man, bold prediction from Mr. Travis Lofley.
Yeah. And then the Tennessee Volunteers, they started the year at number 19 in the country.
Wow.
But they are, but man, they're way better than that, folks. They are Tennessee Volunteers now. Tennessee last year was 50-18 on the year.
Yeah.
Tennessee now, if I can pull up their record where they're at this year, they are 49-7 on the year. That is, they went 25-5 in the SEC. The SEC, folks, that's not a cakewalk. That's that's tough to do.
They certainly deserve it.
Man, Tennessee replaced a lot of talent from last year, and was responsible for that College World Series run. But they've brought in these new guys and guys are stepping up to fill those spots. And this team, they've never peaked at any point in the year. Like, we've never looked at them like thinking like, hey, they peaked too early. Like, they're still playing their best baseball. And I have confidence that they're going to go back to Omaha again. I say, hey, it's not going to be a fun time in Knoxville for opposing teams this year. I think once again, I'm putting them in as an Omaha team. UC Irvine, man, what a disappointing year for the Anteaters. Started out number 20. Not even they're not going to be going to regionals this year. I don't believe. I can't remember if the West Coast Conference has a conference tournament or not, but they're actually the Big West Conference, which is where they're at. But I don't believe they do because they play one final regular season series. So yeah, UC Irvine 31-22 on the year, went 15-12 in the Big West. RPI 81, strength of schedule 93. Yeah, that's not going to do it. It's pretty much it's game over for UC Irvine. Play with pride, finish out the you're going to go cross town to your Orange County rival, Cal State Fullerton, the Titans. Play them hard, get that win, get that series win, get that sweep if all possible. Start honor your guys that are seniors that are going to be moving on. Start looking ahead to the guys who are going to be back on the team next year. You're recruiting, all that, but just things obviously just did not pan out for UC Irvine this year in terms of anything that could get them to Omaha. Georgia Tech, Georgia Tech started the year at 31. They started the year 21 in the country. And they've had a push here later in the year, got a couple of strong series wins to get them solidified into regionals, probably as a 2 or 3 seed. But they even just like a few weeks ago, we were starting to look at Georgia Tech as a bubble team, and They've extended longtime coach Danny Hall again, I believe, for another 5 or 6 seasons with this program. But it's interesting that they've decided to do that and they continue to believe in him. But Georgia Tech, kind of their biggest Achilles heel historically for this program is high-powered offense, not a lot of pitching to back it up. And just that's not a great combination for going deep into regionals and ultimately getting to Omaha. So, maybe they really truly turn things on and get some strong pitching to match their defense here heading into the postseason, and they go on the road somewhere and become a sleeper team and start to maybe get some excitement. They get through regionals and we start to look at them as maybe having a chance in supers to going to Omaha, but just not gonna. Once again, I feel like it was kind of an underachieving year here for the Yellow Jackets. Have a lot of talent, but just not fully putting it all together. Dallas Baptist, DBU, they came into the season at number 22 in the country. I think at one point the highest at one point they were up to was 16 in the country, but they were a very up and down team this year. That more, I think they didn't even in the Missouri Valley Conference, I don't think they're even. I don't believe they're even winning their conference, but they do have a very high RPI, great strength of schedule, everything. They're locked into regionals somewhere on the road, but just nothing. That's a team that had a ton of power at the plate. Sometimes they were putting together really good at bats, other times not so much. And I think just never fully materialized for this team in all phases of the game. Dan Hefner is still a great coach there for that DBU program. The Patriots, they'll be a tough out in regionals. They might not be favored to go in and win somebody else's regional, but you're going to have to take them down to the wire there. They're going to play their heart out. And who knows, maybe they might surprise us and get into supers somewhere. So,
maybe, yeah.
Duke just outright did not have a great season. They started out number 23 in the country. They are going to finish out their 2022 campaign here on the regular season wise, 22-32 on the year, 10-20 in the ACC. Things just did not materialize for that squad. Long Beach State, once again, another team. Or another one of these West Coast historically strong mid-majors. Number 24 in the country, they started out, but their season pretty much at this point is entirely done. Big West Conference as well, like their crosstown foe, the UC Irvine Anteaters. 26-27 on the year to this point, 14-13 in the conference. They've got one last series that they're going to play at UC Davis. Once again, RPI 112, strength of schedule 71. Nope. Good.
Exactly.
Finish it out strong, play with pride, pack it up, and try again next year. But the Miami Hurricanes, a team that I picked as as one of my Omaha 8.
Yes.
Started out number 25 in the country. They are all the way up to number 9 right now.
Oh, feeling pretty good about that one.
Yes. Carson Palmquist has been an excellent force on the mound for them this year. They've had some offense that, has kind of come together. It's sometimes the offense that comes together. The pitching all of a sudden struggles a little bit. They jumped out to such a huge lead in the ACC at the beginning, and they kind of had this stretch where they were just had a bunch of these 1 and 2 weekends where they were dropping series, but they were still out so far ahead. And it was just like, hey, it's kind of looking more fool's gold. Like this team maybe peaked a little bit too early. Well, they're coming back into form now. I like the chances here of this Miami team. Likely going to be hosting as national seed down in Coral Gables. It's going to be a tough. This Miami team is going to be a tough out. I think they play with a lot of pride. I've tuned into a few games. They seem to have good body language and team chemistry together. I think that they're a program that I would continue to keep them in my predictions for Omaha. So with that in mind, I need to look at, before our next episode, I'm gonna review back because I don't have it written down. I'm gonna review back one of our early episodes where I made my Omaha predictions here, just to kind of review what they are and compare those all, and then see how the conference tournaments unfold this next week, and then the bracket is released. So then take a look at how those predictions might play out again, and then we'll see as we narrow down from after regionals from 64 teams down to 16. We'll see again like what teams remain in contention, what then are the new contenders for Omaha at that point, and it'll be a fun time going through it all for sure.
Absolutely. And when Omaha obviously comes, we will see how our 8 picks happen. But man, just comparing the two, it just goes to show you the volatility of college baseball, the parity of it, which was what makes it so much fun. I mean, I thought Arkansas was going to hang tough, and obviously we probably all gave Mississippi State way more credit than it deserved. Texas is Texas, and they're underachieving, obviously, because their standards are so high. Tennessee is just that. I mean, they're the story of the year, really, of the regular season so far. I'm proud of Stanford. I'm proud of Texas Tech. Texas State, really impressed with them. They just really came out of nowhere. A lot of these mid-major teams.
Texas State, I don't know if you've heard like the D1 guys talk about it, or if I kind of rehash what they've talked about, but Texas State, that's a very upperclassman heavy team. A lot of seniors. They bring in a lot, like much of their recruiting. They don't have a recruiting advantage. I mean, Texas is a baseball rich state, but you're just down the street there from UT.
Exactly.
Texas State, it's as a program, it just does not have the resources that other programs do. So they dig in really deeply, Stephen Trout and his staff, into recruiting the junior colleges. So they've got a lot of really old dudes that are like 23, 24 years old that are like been grinding out their baseball career over time. So they've got you get these guys, they've had their COVID extensions. They've had, they've been playing their junior college ball. They've been playing a lot of baseball for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So they have come in as they've shown really to be experienced. I think just this is with college baseball, it's hard to, comparatively to college, compared to college basketball, to get like a St. Peter's type of Cinderella story. It's hard, to get like a 4 seed. I think, back to last year, New Jersey Institute of Technology, I believe, went on the road to the Fayetteville regional against Arkansas. And they did not make it out of that regional, but, they were kind of like a Cinderella team going into that regional. The fan base there for the Razorbacks really celebrated those guys coming in as like a feel-good story and competing as hard as they did. But rarely, really, if ever, do those type of teams ultimately rise through the bracket. But this is a Texas State team. I think Texas State can be a Cinderella type program for sure. I mean, they're still ranked right there, but they're not that. Just a lot of fans, and the most diehards within college baseball, aren't going to be super familiar with them in terms of having seen them in like big marquee matchups. You just don't get those in the Sun Belt. You've got to grind it out. But Texas State, yeah, like I said, really good opportunity for them to host. It's going to be an experienced team. It can be a hungry team, whether they host, where they have to go on the road. They're playing great baseball all around. You're not going to want to face them.
Yep, they've really proved themselves, and just having all those JUCO guys, it's like, hey, you're overachieving at the supposedly inferior level. How about you want to play for a D1 school? And that's just it's too much to pass up for Texas State.
Yeah, man, you have to think too, like that's like for those guys. Once again, they're just trying. You got these guys that are grinding out a college baseball career, trying to make it work. If you're a junior college guy and Texas State gets in touch with you and says, "Hey, we want you to come play college baseball for us," that's the equivalent of getting called up to the majors. Like that's in the college baseball world. I mean, that's just those guys have gone to this point. It's a great story. You have to really love it. We here in the state of Texas, we make Texas State can be the butt of a lot of jokes. But the Bobcats They have had an incredible baseball season this year. Props to them.
Yep.
I'll be cheering them on in the postseason for sure.
Oh, for sure. Horns down, heard around the world.
Yes,
One of the most epic moments.
throw your ace on the mound for a midweek game to get the win, to bolster that RPI, to take down
man.
the team that's like a 30-minute drive away from you. That's
That was one of the best moments of the season by far.
Absolutely.
It was epic, man. But yeah, Maryland, gotta hand it to them. They were out, but then they stood strong. They're the shiner, and it's good to have one team stand out amongst the bunch there. But no, yeah, Vanderbilt. I think they're too deep. I think they're. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, they didn't get the wins, but I think they're a team that, despite being lowly ranked, comparatively, I just think they have too much depth. I can never count them out just because they just have too good of a program. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. Do you have any kind of overall observations on the final 25?
Yeah. So I feel like I feel like actually no, I've kind of ran through everything.
Okay.
I would just say from the Big 12 here, I don't
Yeah.
have a ton of confidence in Texas in our Longhorns. I'm not just saying that here, to throw shade at the Longhorns being a Red Raider, but truly, I just objectively I look at them. There's just they really even had to battle it out versus Kansas this past weekend. And it just seems like that team is very streaky. They're very they have trouble putting all the pieces together, and there's a lot of talent from top to bottom. They've also faced some injuries this year as well, but yeah, pitching has been kind of a big woe for them. I don't know fully how to feel about them, but just right now, I think compared to like a West Virginia or an Oklahoma, that would be going on the road, honestly, out of the Big 12. I don't have a ton of confidence. Yeah, in you two.
Yeah, but I mean, the Hispanic Titanic, I mean, that guy living out the no doubter way, batting .421 and hitting 28 bombs. He can be our no doubter player of the year for all I care. I'd have to check a few others, but I'm pretty confident in assuming he probably is going to be it because, man, he's their shot.
I would love to see like a head-to-head home run derby challenge between him and Griffin Dorshing from Oklahoma State. That would be those dudes are just jacked muscle hamsters that are like tower over everybody else.
Yes.
And it would be that'd be a fun time. Maybe bring back the former TCU Horned Frog Lucan Baker himself and throw him in there just an honorary participant and do a 3-way challenge between those guys. That would be fun. But yeah, I think there's also a few automatic bids to this point. Teams that have already punched their tickets into regionals here. So the Big West, as we talked about, UC Santa Barbara, Big West Conference. The Big West does not have a conference tournament, so that means that the team who wins the regular season punches their ticket into regionals automatically. Yep. And that team this year is UC Santa Barbara, the Gauchos. This will be their 14th tournament.
Gambling Gaucho.
Great podcast, by the way. You should listen to those guys.
Do it, yes.
But yeah, the UC Santa Barbara Gauchos, this is their 14th tournament appearance in program history. Nice. One of these historically strong West Coast college baseball programs. They have one Omaha appearance in their program history. That was back in 2016. Andrew Checkett's their head coach, has done a great job. Great job for him. From the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference, Coppin State has punched their ticket into regionals somewhere in the bracket. This is their second ever conference championship, their first since 1995, and their first ever NCAA tournament appearance outright. Coppin State, a historically black university in HBCU out of the Baltimore, Maryland area. Really good to see those guys have that success there. Congrats to all of y'all in that program. Hope y'all have a blast going and playing in there. May the odds be in your favor. And hey, maybe you'll be a Cinderella this year. You never know. You get to the field of 64. Anything can happen. And then the third lock-in for the tournament that we have as of this point right now, team that's punched their ticket here is Columbia out of the Ivy League. Yes. So this will be the 7th NCAA tournament appearance for the Lions in program history. Their last appearance was back in 2018. There are, actually, before we talk about the bubble teams, let's just pull open this here, courtesy of D1 Baseball. I'll pull it up here and share it on my screen. Our field of 64 projections from D1 Baseball. So yeah, let me share my screen here because definitely some interesting matchups to take a look at.
Look at that, man.
Yeah. As of today, the latest.
Yes.
These will basically change every day from this point on now as conference championships go. Bubble teams, either play themselves in with more confidence or possibly play themselves out. If we've got any bid steals, this bracket will change accordingly. The last 4 teams in right now that D1 Baseball projects in are NC State, UTSA, Old Dominion, and Clemson. Then the first 4 out they project are Iowa, Kennesaw State, San Diego, and Louisiana. Hopefully that speaks for itself here. If you don't understand what we mean by this, last 4 in, meaning these would be the last 4 teams that we project in, that D1 that is projects into the field of 64 and regionals. The first 4 out are the first 4 teams that are just on the wrong side of the bubble, and if the season ended today, would not be playing any further in the postseason. Stolen bid wash, as they talk about, just looking at some of these teams, if they at large teams, if they fail to win their tournament, they're probably still locked in, but that would mean that whoever wins that tournament from there would take another bid then in the regionals. So D1 projects right now, Tennessee obviously is the number 1 overall. Coppin State there at number 4, Wake Forest at number 2, Wofford at number 3 seed there. So you see how this is. It's the opening game of every regional would be the 1, the 4 seed, and then the first game that is on that side, kind of how the bracket comes together. 1 and 4 facing each other, 2 and 3. That's how it works here. Then that's they go into each other. The winners there, and it's double elimination there. So lose 2 games, you're then out of the regional. Tennessee. Yes, I guess we'll just go 1 through 8 and then take a look at the other side of the bracket and what would feed into. So I think Tennessee is probably safe in that one. Virginia Tech is the interesting one you have to look at here now as the number 2 seed. Because you've got, this is kind of one of these interesting situations. Like it happened last year with Oregon. You saw it a few years back with West Virginia. That a team that is kind of like in the building or rebuilding stage as a program, and they're like hosting their first regional like in a long time, or really their first regional ever, that they can have a great season, but another team can come in hot and they can then end up knocking the home team out of their own regional there, and that team no longer goes any further in the postseason. Maine is a historically strong mid-major baseball program up there in the Northeast, obviously with its challenges with weather and climate-wise being up there in the state of Maine. I would look at East Carolina and West Virginia are definitely 2 teams that you could see Virginia Tech dropping the opening game to Maine potentially, and even if they come back and in double elimination wise knock out Maine, that it wouldn't take with one. Yeah, they've already got kind of a little knock in their armor at that point. That an East Carolina or Virginia team, gets out of that side of the bracket, come in then and beat Virginia Tech again and win that regional. I like East Carolina's chances if they were to go to that Blacksburg regional. I would have Virginia
We'll
Tech on
see.
that. Virginia Tech is on upset alert personally for me. Stanford. So it looks like right now, today they project them against number 4 Long Island, and on the other side of the bracket, number 2 UC Santa Barbara, and number 3 Ole Miss. Man, Ole Miss is playing some really good baseball at this point in the year, but I think Ole Miss I think the bracket could be finalized with Stanford against Ole Miss. However, I don't see Ole Miss knocking off Stanford out of this regional. I think Stanford still wins it. I think they're playing their best baseball at this point of the year, and they've got a much more complete team. Ole Miss is kind of covering up some holes that they have, albeit still playing their best baseball right now. It's the Corvallis Regional. Oregon State, number 4 overall. They faced North Dakota State, number 4 seed on that side of the bracket. Then would be North Carolina and Grand Canyon University. Once again, I'm calling that. It's Oregon State. Nothing about that regional really scares me.
Yeah.
Coral Gables, that regional for number 5 overall, Miami would face against Florida A&M on the other side of the bracket. And then Florida and Connecticut on number 2 and number 3 against each other on that side of the bracket. Ooh. I could see Miami getting past Florida A&M easily. I could see either Florida or Connecticut, whoever wins that one, when they face up with Miami, getting out of that side of the bracket, that they could get game 1 against Miami, but then they would get Miami would come back ultimately and get 2 more wins and knock out whichever team that they face on the other side of the bracket. I don't fully see Florida or Connecticut as a dangerous enough team to take out Miami out of the bracket. To the College Park Regional. So we have Maryland, number 6 overall. It's a national seed against Fairfield, number 4. And then if this was D1 projects our Texas Tech Red Raiders to be the number 2 seed in this regional, going up against the number 3 Liberty Flames. All right. I don't know if this is just a homer in me or there's some legitimacy to my analysis here. But once again, I'm thinking Maryland just did not have the tough schedule in the Big Ten. They were dominant as they were. But once again, this is a Maryland team that is hosting their first regional in many a years. And I think Texas Tech has a real shot at going into that regional and beating Maryland. And so that would mean if Texas Tech were to win that regional, it might be 2014 all over again. Go on the road for your regional, but then come back to Lubbock and host the Super. So I like Tech's chances if they were to go into a regional like that. That's one of those ones as a 2 seed. The Tech goes into that College Park regional against Maryland. The way that Texas Tech's playing in this point of the year, I like the possibility of Texas Tech being an upset pick in there. Louisville, number 7 overall national seed. And then face up against Wright State on the other side of that bracket is number 4 seed. Vanderbilt and Arizona is the 2 and 3 seeds. Ooh, I'm going to put Louisville in upset alert here too over Vanderbilt. I just don't fully trust Louisville. Maybe I just haven't seen enough of them, but I think a Vanderbilt team going into Louisville, they can knock that team off, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, they got the depth.
Yeah, sure. They've got the depth. I think there's a bit more depth they have comparative to a Louisville team, and that could get Louisville in trouble and possibly out of that. Then, does it get interesting here as we round out the top 8 national seeds here? The D1 projects Texas A&M is the number 1 seed there in their College Station bracket, in their College Station regional. Excuse me. Going up first on their side of the bracket against number 4, against the 4 seed Army, the Black Knights. Man, Army just keeps playing solid baseball year after year after year. It keeps going to regionals. Good on those guys. Playing baseball is the easiest thing that military academy members do. So good for them to be able to presumably be going on the road again for regionals this year. But where it really gets interesting on the other side of the bracket, it truly is the Battle of Texas in this one here, because you have the what would then be the 2 seed Texas Longhorns and the 3 seed UTSA Roadrunners. Ooh, man. It's so easy it is easy in this regard to pick, like it's easy to pick A&M ultimately to lose this, because they're going up against Texas, and it feels like Texas just has their number all the time. But Texas A&M did get that midweek win over UT earlier in the season, so they've already beaten them once there. But it just seems like as much as the overall success has been better of Texas A&M since they left the Big 12 in a lot of sports, whenever they meet up against Texas in anything, it's Texas reminds them they're still Texas. But I like that Texas A&M team. I think they have a lot more depth. Some of the pitching has maybe been a little bit questionable recently. Micah Dallas hasn't had as many great outings as he had earlier in the year, but I think they're a more well-rounded team and a more consistent team, even with their flaws, than Texas is right now. So I could see A&M and Texas both meeting up against each other in that regional final, but Texas A&M ultimately getting the job done there in College Station. And so then we look back around to the other side of the bracket. The teams that whoever wins that regional would then fit on this side of the bracket would then face the team on the other side there, depending on who wins that regional. So the other side there from College Station in Hattiesburg in that regional would be number 1 seeded Southern Miss against 4 seeded Belmont. I've actually got a friend from church that his brother is a pitcher for Belmont, so I will have to tune in to wherever Belmont's playing in their regional and get a look at their team more. And then 2 seed LSU, 3 seed Clemson. Ooh, man, that is a difficult regional. That is a gauntlet of a regional right there in Hattiesburg. Man, Southern Miss is the much more well-rounded team, but LSU or a Clemson could go in there and swing the bats and knock Southern Miss out of their own regional. So I'd say that's an upset alert kind of territory. I feel like there in Hattiesburg. I think Southern Miss might drop a game there, but they're not going to get double limb swept there. So I'll pick them, but I do have them on upset alert. So they'll have to play some really good baseball, I feel like, to get out of that one.
Absolutely.
And then Auburn on the other side from Louisville there, the number 10 overall seed. Auburn would then be the first seed in their bracket, going up against the 4th seed College of Charleston. Then and then Coastal Carolina and Florida State would be the 2 and 3 seeds on the other side of the bracket, respectively. That's a lock for Auburn. None of those teams scare me in terms of seeing like, hey, they can knock Auburn off. Auburn, they've got Sonny DeShara. They've got good pitching. Offense, defense, pitching. They've run through the gauntlet of the SEC West this year. That's a strong team. I could see them winning that one for sure. And if we get a Vanderbilt versus Auburn Super Regional in Nashville, that is must see TV right there. That would be
seriously,
all SEC matchup for the Super Regionals, kind of like they had with LSU and Tennessee last year. It's SEC folks know how to party and have a good time. So it'll be rocking there in Nashville for sure if that were to happen. And then Virginia in the Charlottesville Regional on the other side of the bracket from the College Park Regional, number 11 overall seed. So number 1 Virginia in their bracket on that side. They're going against number 4 Columbia, number 2 Oklahoma against number 3 Old Dominion.
You can't count out Old Dominion.
Yeah, that is an upset alert kind of bracket, and that's a bracket that I look at. Man, if Columbia could beat Virginia possibly in its opening game and send Virginia then into the loser bracket at that point. So, upset alert there, especially. And then even if Virginia gets past that, like going up against either Oklahoma or Old Dominion, that's going to be a tough outing there. So upset alert on that side of things. The South Bend regional on the opposite side of the Coral Gables regional. So man, the Miami and Notre Dame, what a great storied rivalry between those two programs. They go back to the old Catholics versus convicts days, and everything that came out of that. But yeah, Notre Dame, number 12 overall national seed, D1 is projecting be the 1 seed in their regional on that side of the bracket, going up against the 4 seed Ball State, 2 seed UCLA, and 3 seed Rutgers. This is just a meh regional. I look at. I see that as an easy out for Notre Dame. Notre Dame hasn't been like a super impressive team to me throughout the year, and that's just kind of that would be a good seed for them in terms of not being super challenging for them to get out there regional. The Eugene regional for number 13 overall seeded Oregon, opposite of Corvallis. Oh man, you look at some. The seating committee definitely takes a look at some of the things of like, hey, what would be a great matchup? What was obviously true to the performance of these teams, but what would be a great matchup once we get to supers? So, Oregon, we all know that the offense is incredibly explosive. It's just, can the pitching hold up? And sometimes it has truly been a struggle. Like when we talk about Texas Tech's pitching being a struggle, man, Oregon, that is a full-on struggle bus that they're driving sometimes in Eugene with that pitching there. So it would be number 1 seeded Oregon in that bracket up against UNLV, the number 4 seed. And then the other side of it, 2 seeded Gonzaga and 3 seeded NC State. Gonzaga would be a tough out there. Yeah. Gonzaga, I could put Oregon on upset alert over Gonzaga, in my opinion. I think Gonzaga's been the much more well-rounded team. I mean, we remember Gonzaga went into Stillwater earlier in the year and swept Oklahoma State. So that's a strong Gonzaga program that they've got up there in Spokane. So put Oregon State on upset alert potentially this year. TCU projected right now is the number 14 overall national seed. So 1 seed in that regional on that side of the bracket gets number 4 seed in McNeese State, then 2 seed Texas State, and then 3 seed Dallas Baptist. There.
Great matchup.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a fun. If that regional were to come together, that would be fun to watch. Yeah. I think TCU, as great as those other teams are, is still the favorite in that regional. But man, you're going to see some tough down to the wire baseball, if not some extra innings games involved out of it as well. So we got TCU coming out of their regional if they host, especially in that lineup. Stillwater, Oklahoma State would be the number 15 overall projected seed on the opposite side of Blacksburg. So Oklahoma on their side of the bracket, 1 overall against number 4 Davidson, and then 2 Arkansas against 3 seeded Louisiana Tech. Man, that would be a tough regional. I think Oklahoma State versus Arkansas would be a very fun regional to see there. You've got the schools are not separated that far from each other, so it'd be a raucous crowd up there in Stillwater. But I like Oklahoma State's chances of getting out of Stillwater. And then Statesboro, Georgia Southern, the Panthers.
Statesboro Blues.
So the final number 16 overall national seed on their side of the bracket in their regional would be number 1 going up against number 4 Campbell. And then, man, the battle for Georgia on my mind for sure. So 2-seeded Georgia, then going up against 3-seeded Georgia Tech. Clean old-fashioned hate. The 2 schools that cannot stand each other whatsoever. Man, give me Georgia in an upset pick to get Georgia to beat Georgia Southern in that regional.
Yeah. I mean,
and then Georgia versus Tennessee, Georgia versus Tennessee Supers. Give it to me, man. Give me the SEC matchups all together. I am.
Do it.
I'm ready for it.
Rehash it out.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what D1 projects right now, and I mean, yeah, but once again, folks, that's just D1 Baseball's projections. It's a source we use here for a lot of our coverage there. Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt, those guys, they do a fantastic job in covering the sport of college baseball. We would love to be able to talk with them at some point on our program. But until
Absolutely.
then, we keep referring to their content because they are some of the best. They're some of the best reporters on the game of college baseball out there.
Yes.
Boom and I, before the season started, got a membership with their publication
Yes.
there, and it's been. I don't know about you, but I've really enjoyed having it. There's some fantastic coverage in there of the sport, some great write-ups. If you just want to nerd out on the sport of college baseball, they don't even pay us to talk about that. We're just giving them publicity because they deserve it. It's there, and they help creators like us talk about this sport more and learn about it and get better at what we do. So thanks to D1 Baseball.
Yep, they are the best.
Yep. And with that in mind, let's close things out here on today's show just by kind of quickly running through the seeding and the brackets for each of the conference tournaments here.
Yes.
So, starting first off here with our home Big 12 tournament.
Yes. TCU getting the number 1 seed, and of course having the better conference record. So
So it's a double elimination tournament. Pretty, some conference tournaments have kind of these interesting pools and just like ways that they line teams up. But this is double elimination. One versus the opening rounds. 1 versus 8 seed. There's 9 Big 12 teams that play baseball. Kansas being the bottom team this year at number 9. I've gone home. Their season is ended altogether. But yeah, you've got 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5, all in the first round. So that means first round will be number 4 Oklahoma State versus number 5 Texas. Allergies are kicking up a little bit. Gotta love spring in Texas. Game number 2, you've got so that's game number 1. You've got Oklahoma State and Texas against each other. Game number 2 is going to be number 1 TCU versus number 8 Baylor. Game number 3 is going to be number 2 Texas Tech versus number 7 Kansas State. Game number 4 is going to be number 3 Oklahoma versus number 6 West Virginia. So those games all will be on Wednesday. Then you've got a couple games against the winners of the first several games on Thursday, and then against the losers of several of those games on that same day as well. So you'll eliminate a couple teams by mid-afternoon on Thursday. Then you've got got another elimination set there of a couple more losers there on Friday. And then Saturday, you've got any more kind of loser elimination type games if necessary. But yeah, in the Big 12, you can just get 3 straight wins, and you can automatically punch your ticket to Sunday, save up your pitching, and have a chance to play for the Big 12 championship there. And so then moving on to the SEC. The SEC tournament is supposedly an absolute zoo down there in Hoover, Alabama. And I would love to go. I mean, just as a baseball fan, as a college baseball fan, it would be a blast to take the trip out there, go hang out in the Birmingham area for several days, watch a bunch of college baseball, drink some beer, and enjoy the environment out there. So, Tuesday, this is also a double elimination tournament as well. The SEC plays, and the top 4 seeds overall get a first round bye. So that includes Arkansas, A&M, Tennessee, and LSU. So you've got Georgia and Alabama that will face up first on the first that morning of the 24th. My birthday. Just going up that day as well.
There you go, man.
So, and then, you've got the afternoon. South Carolina and Florida go against each other. Mississippi and Vanderbilt, and then Kentucky and Auburn. And so the winner of Georgia and Alabama will funnel into Arkansas. Winner of South Carolina and Florida will funnel into A&M. Ole Miss and Vandy will funnel into Tennessee, and then Kentucky and Auburn will funnel into LSU. So, pretty similar structure as to what the Big 12 tournament does. But yeah, I'll be certainly be tuning in to catch some of those games, because there's definitely, we've got some teams that are on the bubble right there that you could be bid stealers there, and it'd be fun, to see a team like Kentucky or an Auburn make it into Kentucky or Alabama make it into the SEC, make it into the NCAA tournament. Excuse me. The ACC tournament next has a very interesting kind of format that they go in. So they do what are called pools. So there's Pool A, which is going to feature number 1 seeded Virginia Tech, number 8 seeded North Carolina, and number 12 seeded Clemson. Pool B, which is going to feature number 2 seeded Louisville, number 7 seeded Georgia Tech, and 11 seeded Pitt. Pool C, which will feature 3 seeded Miami, 6 seeded Wake Forest, and 10 seeded North Carolina State. Pool D is going to feature 4 seeded Notre Dame, 5 seeded Virginia, and 9 seeded Florida State. The way this works, I'm just reading it here from the website. Actually, Bleacher Report is putting this one out here. 12 teams are split among 4 pools of 3. Each of the pool winners moves into the semifinals, with Pool A playing Pool D, Pool B playing Pool C before the championship game, May 29th. So there's no double eliminate. Like, there's no, if you lose a game, you can climb your way back into it. It's you just need to keep winning to ultimately win the conference tournament. And the second you're not winning, you're just kind of playing essentially for wherever you can finish out, and for pride at that point. The semifinal and title games are winner takes all. You had 9th seed last year. So when 9th seeded Duke took down 3 seeded NC State to get into regionals. Duke needed to win that, and they got the job done there. So anything can happen. Sure enough, certainly this tournament could help out some teams this year. And then in the Big Ten.
Yes.
We haven't had a whole lot to talk about the Big Ten this year just because they've not been a super strong conference.
Yes.
But they, Big Ten plays their tournaments in Omaha at Charles Schwab Field, formerly TD Ameritrade Park, in Omaha. So they knows one or more of these teams may be getting a test of what it could be like to play in Omaha on the big stage, but with the Big Ten tournament here. So you've got number 1 overall seeded Maryland, number 2 overall seeded Rutgers. They are probably locks at this point. Maryland absolutely a lock. Rutgers most likely a lock for playing in regionals this year. And for everybody else, it's hoping to be a bid stealer. So it looks like this is also a double elimination format that they have here in Omaha. I'm trying to see if that is the case. It looks like it. So the seeding you've got number 3 Iowa against number 6 Penn State, number 2 Rutgers against number 7 Purdue. Maryland, number 1 overall against number 8 Indiana, number 4 overall Illinois, against number 5 overall Michigan. So the winners of Iowa and Penn State and Rutgers and Purdue will funnel again to each other. Maryland and Indiana and Iowa and Illinois and Michigan those winners will funnel into each other as well. And then, you've got the loser games that then determine the first double eliminations and get more teams out of the bracket there. So should be a fun event in Omaha. It'll be interesting to see how that conference positions itself heading into regionals. And then last conference, to take a look at real quick for a tournament is a conference that is having a tournament for the first time in a good while here.
There you go. The Conference of Champions.
Yes, the Conference
will
of
have
Champions.
A champion.
Yes, the Pac-12 Conference will have a tournament. They're going to be out in sunny and hot at this point of the year. Scottsdale, Arizona, playing at Scottsdale Stadium there in this tournament. You have got number 5 seeded Arizona going up against number 4 seeded Oregon, 8 seeded Arizona State against 1 seeded Stanford, 7 seeded Washington against 2 seeded Oregon State, and 6 seeded California against 3 seeded UCLA. This is double elimination as well. By Sunday evening, we'll have a winner settled there. Yeah, gonna be some fun baseball being played over the next week here. Forgot to kind of cover earlier here. I put together what I saw was just kind of a general consensus between several sources of who's probably on the right side of things right now, bubble wise, and who's on just outside the right area. So, say North Carolina, NC State, UTSA, Louisiana Tech, Old Dominion, Wake Forest, and Clemson are on the right side. Clemson, NC State, you'll really want to see them pick up a win or two in their conference tournament to really solidify themselves in there. On the wrong side of things, Iowa's probably going to need to win their conference tournament outright at this point. Pittsburgh as well. Alabama going to need to do some work in the SEC tournament. San Diego, the Toros, I'm probably butchering what they're called. They're on the wrong side of things right now. Kentucky's got work to do in the SEC tournament. Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, on the wrong side of things right now, in Kennesaw State as well. So, yeah, there's a good bit. There's still a lot of meaningful baseball to be played at this point in the year, and the conference tournaments are fun. It's for certain teams, this is a time just to have fun, maybe be a little bit more conservative, kind of pack it up in. Other teams, the chance to extend their season and maybe make some magic happen and be playing longer than they thought they were going to.
Exactly. It depends on where they are, where they're stacked. Depends on what they have to play for. But this is the time, Trav, where the fair weather fans start coming out of the woodwork and paying attention to this wonderful sport that is college baseball. Because when they hear playoffs, that's when they're like, "Oh, wait, what? Playoffs?"
Yep, absolutely. And hey, there's the sport of college baseball is a big tent. It's big enough for everyone there. Check it out. You got these conference tournament games are going to start appearing on some of the networks like ESPN and ESPN2 in the days to come. Pick up that ESPN Plus subscription if you want as well. Kind of get in on it as well there. It helps for flipping between those games easy. But come enjoy some college baseball. It's going to be a fun next week, and especially over the next few weeks after that, as we ultimately a little over a month from now crown a champion in Omaha for the College World Series. So
wow, only a month away. It's going to happen so fast, but man, it was a good year. And we've got some good action going on. So if you haven't checked out college baseball at this point, better late than never. This is the most exciting time. Hop on the bandwagon. Come give it a watch. We'll be with you every step of the way, all the way through the tourneys, regionals, super regionals, and of course, Omaha. We're going to be doing some extra special coverage for that. So, thanks for the rundown, T-Money. We're gonna ride it all the way to the end. So thank y'all so much for joining us for this extra special episode. Be sure to subscribe to No Doubter wherever you're listening to this episode. Give us a 5-star review if you enjoyed the show. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, all at No Doubter Pod. You can follow me on Twitter at BoomBoston21, Travis Softly at Travis Softly. Subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel so you can actually see our faces, see us, the visual elements when we slam some beers and some wines. So we can describe the color of what we're drinking. It's all in the visuals.
Because we know y'all totally got to listen to our podcast so you can hear two dudes talk about alcohol. That's
the visual component is what makes porn scores so great. So if you want to see it, look up No Doubter Podcast. It's all there, all in the description below. If you've been listening to us for a while, please consider supporting us on Patreon. I really appreciate it. Helps us recoup our costs. Give a shout out to our longest standing patron, Tad Bostic, and Patreon producer, Don Hale. You two make this show possible. We really appreciate it. If you want to have your name shouted out like that, $2, $5, $10, whatever you can whatever you can do, it'll be worth your while. So also a merch store, mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, baseball shirts, phone cases, anything your heart's desire, it's all there. We got more than you could ever imagine and ever want. It is all by TeePublic. All the links in the description below. Land this plane, T-Money.
It would be my pleasure. Friends, it's been a great college baseball season. It's a little bittersweet seeing the regular season wind down now, because it reminds me that, college baseball season, the off season is never too long, but it comes around every year. It's a time of year that I love, but it never lasts long enough. But like I said, it's never too long before the next season. And it's just a reminder at this point of the year, this season is winding down, but that means that the most meaningful baseball is yet to come here. And we get to the penultimate part of it all, the greatest that there is here in the sport, the College World Series in Omaha, Nebraska. It's coming sooner than later. We still got a lot of meaningful baseball to be played between these conference tournaments and the regionals and super regionals coming up. We'll be with you every step of the way. And in that spirit, take to your everyday life, your passions, your desires, whatever you're going after, the no doubter way, which is batting 400 and always swinging for the fence.